Hi, I'm Anthony for City Backyard Veggies. I'm going to do a few things in my patch this weekend, but first of all, what I'm going to do is start my green bean seedlings. We're in the middle of July now, and I like to get my seedlings planted out mid to late August. So I'm going to go through now and just show you what seedlings I'm going to plant and how I'll go about growing my green bean seedlings. So in my patch, I generally like to grow bush beans rather than climbing beans. I just find that they're easier to manage and it gives me the chance to get a big harvest at one time. I grow two varieties of beans in my patch. I grow the green French bean variety and I also grow the stewing bean variety, or otherwise known as the continental bean or flat bean. For the green French bean, I always go with Jackson. They tend to put out a very long, slender, straight bean, which is really perfect for my family and for what we're trying to get out of our beans. I also grow a flat bean variety. The bean variety I grow is Mendoza, and also Italian Romano. That's another bean that I've grown in the past. Again, these are the flat bean continental variety. I do find I get at least 2 flushes of beans out of this patch. They are a longer style flat bean, really good producers. Those are the 2 beans varieties I'm going to grow today, and I tend to grow them throughout the season, planting out new seedlings every 6 to 8 weeks from September all the way to March. So right now I'm just going to go and start planting out my seedlings. As with all my seedlings, I use a standard bagged seed raising mix. What I try to do though is try to find something with low bark content. So what I'll do now is just essentially fill up the tray. So that's now filled. I'm going to go give it a really deep soak just to make sure all the soil's really wet, and then I'll plant out the seeds. Now that I've really soaked my seed tray, I'm going to do now is plant out 1 seed per cell, just slightly pushing it in, and then we'll go from there. So there you have it, 200 cells, 200 seeds. Now they're ready for their vermiculite. So just to finish off my plantings, I'm going to do is now is cover it with vermiculite. I do this with all my seedlings, so just be a light cover as I'm doing here. So there you have it, that's done now. So they will be left indoors now. I'll just let them settle outside first and I'll put them indoors somewhere warm, and they will germinate in about 7 days, and then I'll be able to plant these out in 2 weeks. So I'm happy with that. So off to see what else there is to do around the patch. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do in my patch, I'm over at my Wombox. Last week I started harvesting the first heads, but the longer I look at them, the more I feel that they're going to start bolting. So I'm going to come through and do a first pass over the patch, and anything that looks like it's about to bolt, it's going to get harvested. I'll take you along and show you what I'm looking for when I come to choosing which ones I'm going to harvest. So what I'm looking for when I'm harvesting my Wombox, I'm looking for stuff like this where the head's just starting to separate. That's just, to me, is an indication that it's going to bolt. And I also have a feel for it. Now the problem is because these were planted quite late in the season, they probably haven't formed up such a big solid head, but they're, looking at the one I harvested last week, they looked quite good regardless to their size. So I'm going to come through, find out which ones, just having a feel to see which one's got a nice feeling head. I'm going to come through and harvest what I can and go from there. So I've got my little helper today helping me with the harvest. So I've gone and harvested, I think about 8 heads of one box. So I'm going to come through, me and my little helper, and we're going to remove a lot of the damaged leaves, just trying to keep the hearts. And we're going to collect them over in this bowl. There's a lot of weight, surprisingly, to these plants, even though they're quite small still. There's the heads are quite stocky, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how good this harvest is going to be. So what we're going to do is just going to come through and start removing some of the outer leaves. Nicholas, want to help yourself? Yeah, just take the leaves off. It's okay. They have had a little bit of slug damage, which is okay. It's just gonna have to deal with that slug slime. There's a little slug right there, but besides that, they seem pretty good. They'll wash up quite well. There you go. One nice compact size head of Chinese cabbage. So I'm gonna come and clean this up, and then we'll work through the rest of it. So I finished my harvest. I got 8 heads, or not 8 heads of one box. They're good size, good weight to them. One thing I did notice, but though, is that they're not obviously as big as the first planting I did at the start of the year. And I'm actually, what it's done is it's made me anxious for my third planting that I have over here. This was planted in late May, early June, and I just don't think it's going to make it in time. If the ones I just harvested have bolted, these will definitely bolt before they form heads. So look, it's the second time I've grown, second season for me growing Chinese cabbage. I got a feel for timing on when to plant them. I will be planting them only early autumn, and then the last planting will probably be late April. It's just the start of May, and that was it. That will be it. So anyway, if these don't work out, they will become chicken feed. But I'm quite happy with what I've harvested. I'll give them a slight wash and then take them inside. Just giving the heads just a quick wash just to get rid of that extra soil and a bit of that slug slime, and they'll be good to go inside. I've got my little helper there trying to help out, which is great. So good to get the kids in the garden. So I've gone into the backyard over to my last planting of shelling peas. These were planted about 4 weeks ago, and I've been sort of neglecting them. They actually do need a bit of trellising at the moment. They are coming to a point where they're just a bit too long not to have any additional support. So this afternoon, I'm going to put a few stakes in the ground and run my horizontal string trellis system here. So I've gone and installed my posts about 1.5 meters apart. It's a standard technique that I use for trellising with all my peas over my past videos. And what I'm going to do now is run my baling twine and keep it taut between the 3 posts. And I might run, thinking I'll be running two strings at the moment. And then as the weeks go by, I'll just add additional strings to it as needed. So that was a quick trellising session. Essentially threw up the 3 stakes and ran the string lines in about 15 minutes. So that should keep them going for a while now. I will keep adding strings to the trellis as they get taller, but now they'll just start grabbing onto it. over the week, so happy to have done that. Got to see what else there is to do around the patch. So the last thing I do on a weekend in my patch is I go through and check on the chickens and feed them scraps from the kitchen and collect the eggs and just making sure that they've got their food and their water. So just wanted to show you what I typically feed them. Anything essentially that comes out of the kitchen, banana peels, vegetable scraps, noodles, and I've also added, I like to feed them a little bit of black sunflower seeds. It adds a lot more protein to their diet, and I find it really helps with the eggs. Once I've done that, I'll come through and check their food and their water, collect their eggs, and then call it a night. Come through, check their food, make sure their food's all full, check on their water, water's fine. So just go and check on the eggs. There's a few eggs today. I may not have collected this morning, but I've got, try to generally collect once a day, but I may have just passed by me this morning to collect the eggs, so it's okay. Okay. Nice collection of eggs. This is probably a day and a half's worth of eggs. I probably get close to a dozen a day, so they don't need any more bedding as such at the moment, so I'll probably just leave them as is and then, yeah, call it a day now. Okay, thank you for joining me in the patch today, and I'll see you in the next one.